Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Gabby. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in New Jersey, and I am the owner of Therapeutic Self-Care, a group practice where we provide mental health counseling services all over New Jersey. I'm joined today by my really good friend, Sarah Tronco. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. I'm Sarah Tronco. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm in private practice, and I am the author of Wildly Wise, Trusting the Nature Within. And I'm really excited to share a conversation today about visualization and what it's like to be a therapist on social media.
Yeah. So we'll get started. We're going to jump right into it. We're going to first talk a little bit about visualization and a little bit of the research that we've gained or gathered together for our live today, but also how we've used visualization in our own lives and maybe some ideas for you to incorporate it in yours. So I wanted to share with you a little bit of some research I just got from Andrew Huberman on one of his podcasts about visualization. He brought up some really good points, and I thought I wanted to share that today. So visualization is a great way to help speed and keep steady or stable this process of learning. What he's found over his research was that it's also very helpful if visualization could be done in very sparse moments, so between 15 and 20 seconds at a time. So having these moments of visualization in sparse moments, right, 15 to 20 seconds throughout the day can also help solidify some of that learning and retention over time. So that's really important to keep it short and brief. But also he mentioned, and I think this is something that you mentioned in our conversations too, that visualization alone is not enough to help you get to where you want to be or to meet those goals that you're looking to obtain. He mentioned the importance of a combination of visualization as well as motor behavior and cognitive effort. So actually taking the steps, doing the work, spending the time thinking and processing and trying to figure things out in combination to visualization can help get you closer to your goals. You want to add something to that?
Yeah, and also I just want to say how manageable is like 15 to 20 seconds, right?
Yes.
Like I don't have to set aside a whole like evening or like an hour even, just 15 to 20 seconds. I could do that like while I'm waiting to check out at the grocery store.
Right.
And yeah, that kind of overlaps with this interesting study that I saw where two groups of piano players were given an exercise to do. One was to perform the exercise through visualization, like not actually doing the exercise, and the other group was doing like actually performing the exercise. So after several days, they brought both groups back in, they did brain scans, and they saw that both groups' brains were affected in the same way by the exercise. So even when you're visualizing, your brain is still impacted in a very similar way to if you were actually doing the task. And again, you're not going to learn to play piano if you never touch a piano, but
Right.
if you are practicing a skill and you have downtime or maybe you're not able to practice as much, don't underestimate the value of spending some time visualizing yourself doing that, imagining like an area that you would like to grow in with that skill, because taking time to visualize will give you an edge versus if you're not using like the downtime to do that. And we spend a lot of time ruminating or worrying, so why not redirect your energy to building your skills instead or working towards your goals? Yeah.
Another thing that they mentioned that I think was really important to mention here as well is sleep. So in combination to learning, visualization, putting in the effort, but also sleep quality can also help with the retention of that information. So that's something that I think a lot of us can start to improve over time, right? Little by little is increasing your sleep time, but also the quality of sleep. So uninterrupted sleep can help you process and retain some of that information a lot longer in your goals.
Yeah, and one thing we think of when we're visualizing a lot of times is we're focusing on the outcome we want to achieve, but it's actually really important to visualize the process of achieving that goal, because something funny that happens when we imagine like actually already accomplishing the task, or we imagine that we've already done it, is that our brain can kind of like check it off as finished. And so I think that that happens to me sometimes when I'm about to leave the house and I'm like, oh, you know what? I need to like grab this thing out of the fridge, and then I remember that I was supposed to do it, and then I don't do it because I think I feel like I've already handled it. So I live this, and I think that's my excuse. But yeah, so if you're practicing visualization, it's really important to also imagine like the process and the steps of how you're going to get to your end goal and not just the end goal.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel that, or I find that when I am just focused on the outcome, it can help with motivation.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think it's a lot more in depth or more helpful if you're also, like you said, thinking about the steps, right? Accomplishing the small in betweens to get to that long term goal could be helpful.
And one other tip that I learned that I felt was, it seems obvious in some ways, but I think that it's easy to overlook is that we need to identify like when and where we're going to do something because if we don't have as much motivation to do it, and it's harder for us to conceptualize like when is this actually going to get done. And there was an interesting study where college students over their break had a difficult assignment to complete, and there were two different groups of students. One was tasked with identifying when and where they were going to do this project, and the other group did not have the assignment to identify when and where. And the students who picked the place and the time that they were going to do the thing were 3 times more likely to complete the project. Like that's so significant. Mm-hmm. So something small like saying, I'm going to do this at this time and at this place can increase your likelihood of doing something by like 3 times. That's huge.
Yeah, it's huge, huge. So one way that I found that I've used visualization over the years was when I was going through graduate school. So I would, at night after I was done studying, as I was laying my head to bed, I would visualize myself crossing the stage and grabbing the diploma and then walking down, hearing my family, hearing all the people that had supported me along the way there. So that was really like a really key thing for me because in graduate school, as you know, it's a long time of doing a lot of different things to get to the end goal. And I think there's many moments where we lose that motivation.
Yes.
Throughout the process. So I found that keeping that in my mind as I went to bed helped kind of get me motivated to wake up the next day early, get the assignments done, do the things that I still needed to do. So I found myself using visualization in graduate school before I really knew much about it. And I was like, this is something naturally I think a lot of us tend to do. So the other time that I found it was when I was looking for my first house. So I remember it was like a 2-year process of like looking at different houses. It's such a tedious process. You're working with so many people. You're also looking at so many different places, looking at different prices and all that. And I found that I would go to bed at night and kind of visualize what I wanted that house to be. And I remember like in my mind kind of saying I want like a window in my kitchen where I would be able to look out the kitchen window and see my kids in the background in the pool, swimming, having fun, and enjoying their summer. And sure enough, I was able to find a house that was just like that. So I think there's a lot of strength and there's a lot of power in being able to visualize something that you really want. And like you said, kind of visualize the steps there and helping you achieve that long-term goal. And I think there's something about I think you mentioned it in our call a couple weeks ago about like an effect, right? Like of the more you see something, right, the more you find those opportunities.
It's like the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, which I don't know if it's like literally it's talking about this, but it is a phenomenon where if you start to think about something, you're going to notice it more in the world around you. So one example that's commonly given, if you start thinking about like a green car, you're going to start seeing like green cars a lot of places. But I imagine that it translates into, if you're aspiring to do something or accomplish something, like your brain is naturally like starting to put that together. And we actually, I think, see this when we are self-critical and we're like always looking for reasons that we're like not good enough or that we screwed up. Like, look at how beautifully we find tons of examples for that. Like, just passively, like we're not even trying. And imagine if we leveraged that case building part of ourselves for good and to help ourselves accomplish our goals. Like we have a lot of power. A lot of times it's just getting siphoned in ways that we don't mean for it to, and because we're not like intentionally leveraging that aspect of ourselves.
Yeah.
Is the pool open, Gabby?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. These hot weather.
I know, it's perfect, just in time. Good.
Yeah. Did you have some examples that you wanted to share too?
Yeah. So something that I have done for over a decade is I would find random boxes. Like sometimes I would decorate a box. Sometimes it would be like an old like baby wipes box that I would just fold up pieces of paper and put them in. And on the paper, it would have an intention, a goal or hope that I had for the future. Sometimes it would be like a worry. But it's been really interesting. Recently, I went through the boxes, and I posted a video about this recently on my social media too, where I can see some of the things that I was hoping for are things that I've been able to create for myself. And it's like a little time capsule of my hopes and my worries and the things that I felt grateful for. I kind of use it as like a catch-all, and I find the ritual to be really helpful too. So. And also, like you said, it's something that I wasn't reading about visualization or thinking about it like beyond just, I felt this urge to, like, I have this energy and I have this aspiration or this worry or whatever, and I need to channel it in a particular way. So I think that we are innately driven to visualize and use our imaginative capacity to create our life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's so cool to have like a little time capsule for yourself and to go back and did it did it bring up like a lot of different emotions for you, like memories, like such an interesting experience, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's funny because it feels like time goes so fast, and then like when I'm looking back at that time capsule, I'm like, it feels like sort of so long ago though too. So it's sort of like both at the same time. I just felt like there were periods of time where it really felt like these things are far away, or are they ever going to happen, or is this possible? And really, like, the main thing that you have access to in that moment is the hope. And like you just keep heading in a direction, and like the destination feels like pretty far away. And it's just really cool to see how I have been able to create some of the things that my younger self wanted, and that, the asset of being able to access that energy and the hope. And I think visualization is also like a form of hope.
Yeah. And I think also too, just the growth in the hope, but also that you're able to look back and say, wow, I have evidence now to show that I could do it, or I did it. And
got the receipts.
Yeah, exactly. So very cool. What else? Any other things we want to touch upon with the visualization before we move on?
I guess maybe just leaving people with the idea, we covered a lot of like the practical and concrete uses for visualization, and I think also one of the reasons it's useful to talk about visualization in this way is that a lot of times people hear visualization and they think kind of like woo-woo, like manifesting your future. And it's not. There's a lot of really solid like neuroscience-backed reasons to do this, and it can help change our behavior patterns, increase motivation. So, like we gave a lot of ways that we use visualization, and one of the tips I would say is just try identifying like when and where. What's something that's on your mind and or that you want to accomplish, and visualize when and where you're going to do it. That's a really helpful action step. What are your thoughts, Gabby?
Yeah, I would say some action steps would be also keep it brief, right? Don't really make it a very very long visualization process, but maybe something short, a few seconds. Make sure you're also tying it back to your sleep quality, right? Making sure you're taking care of your other needs so that you can solidify, and retain some of that information in visualization over time. And I think the other big piece is finding something that is important and valuable to you. So for me, having a home and stability for me and my children was really important to me. Graduating for me at the time meant having a better opportunity to provide for them. So I think both of those were very important to me. There were things that I valued a lot, so I put a lot more mind and effort into those visualizations and those goals for myself. So I think finding something that you really value and that's really important to you, I think will help make that visualization a lot easier, and then taking those steps towards it as well.
Yep. Finding your why.
Yep. And then also just taking those steps, right? Like making sure you find your why, but also take the steps. Yeah.
Got to do the why and the how.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll move on to the next topic we talked about, and Bruno's going to maybe join us for this a little bit. But we're going to talk a little bit about our experiences on social media. I really wanted to share this because we're not like super big on social media, right? But we're also pretty consistent. We've also seen the benefits, and we're continuing to grow our platforms as well. So I think we're at a good place where maybe someone who's just starting and someone who's not just there yet, right? We can maybe help give some tips or some pointers as to what's been helpful for us. So do you want to start?
Yeah. I'm the baby on social media. I would say I've been doing it the least amount of time, and I have the lowest number of followers, which I don't really think about that much, but I know that, social media is really a metrics thing, which I think is actually like not my strength. That is something that I would benefit from learning more about. But what I've been focusing on, like first and foremost, is just consistency and figuring out like what I even want to post. And so as like somebody who's relatively new to social media, I've been posting consistently a little bit over a year, about a year and a half. And I haven't been focusing on like growth that much at this point because I'm still figuring out like what it is like that I like to post that I'm going to be able to be consistent with. And I would recommend that anybody do that. Like use the awkward beginning phase to be creative. Don't be afraid to like be cringy or awkward or to not have like a perfect post. Like if it's not perfect, you're going to just have to post it because otherwise you're not going to be posting anything if you're too much of a perfectionist. And consistency, like there are times where I've been able to like plot out my when and my where, and there's sometimes where I'm like, it's my lunch break, I'm in my car, and I am doing my post quick. So flexibility, depending on like whatever phase of your life or season you're in, is really important. And making sure that you're posting what you like to post, because if you're not posting something you like to post, you're just not going to post much. And so while I have been slow growing, I feel really proud of myself because it's really cool to look back and see like this body of work, and I can see how like my ideas have evolved and how I've like sort of leaned into different directions and gravitated towards different things, and have gotten a better sense of myself as a therapist too, because doing social media forces you to think about who am I as a therapist, what issues really resonate the most with me, what population am I really trying to reach. So I think that even outside of like the marketing space, it is a really great way to develop your like sense of identity, and it also challenges you to continue like learning beyond just like your CEU hours that you have to get every 2 years. Like you're constantly like learning and exploring different ideas and concepts. So I think it keeps you on your edge in a different way than if you're not like using social media. It keeps you from getting stagnant. So
definitely helps you like develop that confidence in speaking in front of the camera and kind of getting your message across. I think over time, like you mentioned, that practice, that consistency makes it so much easier. But there's still very much moments, I mean, I'm sure Bruno will tell you, where we're like doing a video again and again and again, and there's just like one slip up and then again. And then, so I think just over time you build that confidence in yourself. But like you said, you get to tune back into yourself and who you are and trying to figure that out and that message that you want to give.
I have a question for you, Gabby, too, because you've been posting for a while, and I'm wondering, I'm a one-woman show, but I know you were initially, and then you decided to bring in help. Like, what was the decision-making process around that, and like, how has it made your like social media presence different?
Yeah, I think what brought Bruno in was for different reasons, right? Like I think he came in for the marketing piece, for the headshots. That's what we originally started doing. And then, I had shared with him this idea that I had for a while. Actually, I wanted to do like a YouTube channel before I started my business, believe it or not. And I kind of pushed it to the side for a while because I had the business and I was very busy with that. But a couple years into it, I shared that with him. I was like, hey, I really want to do this. Like, what do you think? Like, can we do this? And so we figured out the logistics of it. And at first, it was really difficult to get consistent. It was really difficult. He has his own schedule. I have my own schedule. We're both doing so many things outside of this. So, but I think over time, what's helped, I think, Bruno and I, is just like scheduling it consistently. So no matter if it rains, if it snows, if there's, we were out the night before, it doesn't matter. Like, we're very consistent with showing up. This is our day. This is when we record. Obviously, sometimes we do have to, change things up, but we try to remain very consistent. I think that's been really helpful. But I think what brought me on board with him is just I had this understanding, even with my team, is that like I can't do it all by myself, right? If I'm trying to still run a business and trying to see clients and trying to manage the finances, like I can't then just say, let me do this all as well. Because it could be like a whole nother job doing the social media stuff. Yeah. So I think that I understood that a while ago. So I was like, let's work together and see how we can make this work. But it's been really helpful because I think with Bruno, not only do we bounce ideas back, but he gives me a different perspective. So sometimes, and this is another really important tip for other therapists out there, is like have friends that are therapists, right? Like Sarah, I have a good friend named Chastity who I also reach out to. So I try to, and even my therapist, like I'll send my videos to my therapist and be like, hey, what do you think? Does this sound good? Is this okay? But getting other perspectives can be really helpful. Professionals that are in your same space, but also people that aren't in your space, so that he helps me get that message across to people who aren't in our field, right? So if he understands it, I know that others can too. Whereas opposed to you and I, we may talk about other topics that you and I understand, but maybe someone else.
That's a term I know. Or
Exactly. So I think that's really helpful, is having other people who you can bounce ideas with professionally in your field, but also people that aren't in your field, to help you get a different perspective of how your message is coming across to someone. So I think that's really been helpful for me.
How have you navigated as a therapist, years ago in therapy, there was like this idea that your therapist is a blank slate, and we are like in much different space than that. And people, like, I don't want my therapist to be a blank slate, and I really appreciate like getting to know like bits and pieces about her life. It helps her feel more human, and it like builds trust. I'm wondering, how do you navigate like the inevitable kind of like self-disclosures that happen through social media, even if we're just like posting bits of our day, or if we're posting in our car, like that's a disclosure about like our car, or like if we are posting in our house, like that, like all of these things are just little glimpses into our life. And is that edge something that you think about like really specifically, or is it something that you navigate more intuitively? I find that I'm navigating it, like I have obvious like areas that I don't want to go with it, but I find that there's a gray area that I'm kind of living in where it feels more like intuitive, like I can sense if something feels like too much.
I always like to think about it as like, how can I bring it back to them, right? Like, how could this be helpful for them? So it always kind of takes me out of it. And I think Bruno helps me that too. He's like, well, what is the message for the audience? What is the viewer getting out of this? So I think that that's really important, is, when you come to self-disclosure, even in our professional world, is this helpful for them, right? Or that client or that person. Like, if it's not tailored to them, then is it just for me? Is it a me thing? So I think being able to differentiate between those, I think, helps us kind of say like, okay, is this too much versus, is this too personal versus,
like, am I getting my needs met here, or am I focusing?
Right.
Because there's an interesting space where I see like other creators that I really enjoy who are therapists, but there's like a lot of really personal self-disclosure, which it seems to like be really resonant with their audience. But like for me, I'm like, I don't want to go that far. So it's interesting. I think that there's like a continuum of like even people who seem to be disclosing a lot, like it can still feel helpful to the viewer. And I don't know that there's like an answer to this. I just think it's sort of an interesting like phenomena that we're observing in the online therapist space, is just all the
so
different.
new.
Yeah, no, it is like the ethics are still catching up.
Yeah, the ethics are definitely still catching up with some of the social media stuff and world that we're in now.
Yes.
But as far as self-disclosure goes, I think it is helpful for some people. I think it is important for people to know that you're a human, and that, you're putting effort in just like everyone else. You're showing up. I like sharing sometimes my personal stuff a little bit more, like my exercising, what I eat. I think because, and I think I shared this with you, is I just want other people to know that it's possible. That you can still have a very busy life, lots of responsibilities, but still find time for yourself, find time to incorporate better habits, to go to therapy, to practice these things. So I think there is a way to balance all of those things.
It becomes more like modeling in a way too. Like not only are you like sharing this bit of your life, but you're kind of modeling how it is possible to do this. I feel that way with sort of like some of the creative processes, because I think a lot of artists, as we get, further into life and we have other careers, it can be harder to find space to create. And whether or not you're an artist, I find that like creative processes are such a helpful way to tap into our intuitive side, and it can feel so intimidating to like get out supplies and get them set up and do something, and we can be so attached to the outcome. So
Yeah.
it's been something I've been teaching myself, that there is enough time to be creative, and also I hope, similarly, like modeling that other people start to realize like there is space in my life for this. Or even sometimes I'll say I only had an hour, so I set like a timer for an hour, and I made something, and this is what it was, and I had no outcome in mind. But just like for me, creativity is such an important like processing space, and I know for a lot of people. So yeah, helping people find ways to access that too.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you connect it right back to yourself too. Like it's such a, and I think art is that, right? Like it's such a connection to yourself and your expression and whatever art it may be. So I think that that's really cool.
And I think that like something with art too is that it becomes sort of like a universal language too. So I think that's art that really resonates with you. You don't necessarily even have to know what the artist was meaning, which, like a lot of my stuff that I'm sharing is more vague and can be interpreted a lot of different ways, which, is intentional. And any art that resonates with me, it's more about just the feeling it evokes, or something that sort of transcends our intellectual mind. And that's, I think, where we're tapping into more like bottom up approaches, where we're accessing feeling and emotion in a more direct way. And I think that's one of the reasons like the creative process has become one of my like core pillars of my subject matter.
Would you say now, after like a few years of doing this, would you say like you feel like good doing this? Do you think it's like the videos and the creative aspect of it?
You know what? It almost feels just like part of my day in a way. Like I look forward to it. It feels like I'm somebody who like, I need a project to be working on. Like I am always sort of thinking about, because if I don't have a project, I'm like going to be milling over something. So social media becomes this kind of cool, like you can sort of be brainstorming in the background. You've got like your notes app where you're jotting down your ideas when inspiration's like if you get inspired, you have somewhere to channel that. Like, oh, I have a space where I share ideas and explore things. So I feel more comfortable. I've been able to let go more, and I think it feels like a really fun creative outlet.
Yeah. But it is something that I look forward to now. It's funny. I used to dread this every Sunday. I used to dread it, right? I used to come in here complaining. Well, not complaining that much, but
You actually have been kind of like a distant, I almost see you as like an accountability buddy, even though, we're not like communicating super regularly about it. But I think when we started talking about social media like over a year ago, and then we did the live like a little over a year ago, I'm like, it's somebody to kind of be like, okay, Gabby's still doing it. I'm going to still keep doing it. Like just sort of like a little picking somebody to be sort of like your support, or like we're in this together, sort of we're doing different things, but we're in it together,
Yeah. And I have a couple other friends too that are on social media that are also business owners. I have one that's in photography, another one who's in private practice up north. So like I have other friends that do it too. And I'm just like really proud of everybody, because I know how much it takes to actually get yourself out there and to practice and to put yourself on camera. And so I'm really proud of everyone who decides to take that. And I know that just like anything else, like you're going to develop and evolve and transform in that process. And so I think that that's a beautiful part of this, is just all the transformation that comes from it too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, like it helps with your, like it shifts your sense of self in a way. Like I think it helps you access sense of self too, because you have to figure out like, what's me and what's not me. Like if I feel embarrassed by something that I post, or like I don't feel great about it, like that's not me. And you sort of are able to figure out which parts of yourself to take less seriously. So
yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
I love the humor videos. I love them.
Oh, yeah, yours is
I
like
love
so
them.
funny. Oh my God.
I love them.
yeah, you've tapped into like a kind of energy, which is really
Yeah.
good. I love seeing your funny videos too.
I love them because it's like when I did a lot of research on social media stuff, especially like on TikTok when I first started, a lot of when you type in like depression and mental health, it's a lot of like negative things. So
Yeah.
I was like, humor is such a a great way to tap into that good energy inside. So
Yes.
and really shift the way you're thinking and how you're feeling. So I think that I love those videos. So if you see me having so much more fun on those, probably because of that. The other ones I love too because they're educational. I really like to share what I know, but those take a little bit more effort. And Bruno typically has to like, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. So it's fun though. It's really fun. We have a lot of fun. He's great though. He's so patient.
Sure, yeah.
He has to be because Jesus Christ. It's a time consuming thing. So, some other things for social media tips I think I would give. So being consistent, really important. I think the other thing too that's helped me is I have so we have our day that we record, but then throughout the week when we're uploading on a day to day, like I have a time that I focus on. So I have my kids that usually go to school at a certain time. Typically between them leaving to school and me getting ready for work, I will have some space there to post, edit, chop some things up, whatever I need to do, and get that ready for the day. So having some space, a when, right, a where and a when, that has helped me as well, just staying consistent because if I try to do it sporadically, the day gets busy, I get caught up in something else distracts me, so it becomes a lot harder to stay consistent, and then it becomes a lot more stressful because now I'm stressed out that I didn't upload, I didn't post that thing, I forgot the thing. So I think having that space and time can be really helpful in remaining consistent.
Yeah, like the lack of preparation becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like if you're afraid trying to be consistent is going to be overwhelming and you're not figuring out your when and your where and your when, lots of then you're gonna find it really stressful, and then you're gonna like be like, oh, I was right, this is too hard, so I'm not gonna do it. Yeah.
Right. Having friends as well, like having other people to bounce ideas from. It's so funny because throughout the weeks, and like Bruno will tell you, I will send him like all types of stuff all the time, and like it sucks because then when I open up my app, I'm like, all right, what video were we gonna do? Let me see. I have to. So it's really funny, but that helps too. So like I have like a notebook or a notepad in my phone where I jot down ideas and then I'll send him some ideas and we'll make some tweaks and stuff like that. So it's a lot of
brainstorm. You got a little brainstorm.
Exactly.
Brewing over yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is really helpful, because I think that it can feel very lonely, when you're first doing this, right? And you're not getting all that feedback. Maybe you don't have that support or that other person, so it can feel that way sometimes.
Yeah, I have found it's speaking of it being kind of lonely in the beginning, like as you start to reach more of the people who like are resonating with whatever your like style or message is, like you do make connections and it's really cool. Like, sometimes people will reach out with a message and just be, because they found whatever you were sharing resonant or you have something in common. And I think that's another like huge value of posting consistently is like you are going to be able to find more people that you connect with on in a more specific way, and that can be really nice just in life in general, is finding community and creating a community.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also too, like the like you said, the messages sometimes help someone. So I have gotten those messages too where people have said, hey, like your videos really helped me during this time where I was like really down. I would listen to your videos. That would really help. I had other parents as well reach out saying like, hey, I got this resource from you. Like this was really helpful. Even sometimes like the breathing exercises that I did recently with a couple of videos, that also was really helpful for a couple parents that follow me on there to practice with their young kids. So I think that when you get those messages, they really do help boost you to keep going.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, it's just one person, two people, whoever, but at least it's hitting someone who maybe needs it in that moment. And that's, I think, for the work that we do, it's so powerful. It rewards us so much, and it's why we do what we do. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just a void out there. There are people. Like sometimes it can feel like a void.
Yeah, it can feel that way. So we did get a request for perimenopause. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Perimenopause. We did get a topic that someone wanted us to talk a little bit during the live about. So I do want to share a little bit of the research that I was able to find on it. So perimenopause is typically before menopause. Is everything okay over there? Perimenopause is typically, it happens before the body actually goes into full menopause. And some of the symptoms can be very similar to depression and anxiety. People that are going through this phase, right, they experience a lot of sometimes panic symptoms, brain fog, sleep disturbances, as well as mood swings. So kind of, being okay one day and then later on that day, really feeling like a depressive state or at least depressive symptoms or anxiety symptoms that can kind of take over your day and the next day and so on. So something really, really important that I want to mention to our viewers here, and I shared with you as well earlier, that this can actually start in your mid-30s to 50s. I don't mean to laugh. It is serious. I'm laughing because that's me.
Like,
and I'm like, maybe this is why all this is happening and I can't focus. And so I'm sitting here trying to, not diagnose myself. But so it can start in your mid-30s up until your 50s. So that's something to keep in mind. A lot of these symptoms can influence your tolerance to stress, as well as changes in your confidence. And some of the professional recommendations that I found was there are some sort of hormonal therapies that you can try and speak to a physician about. There's also CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, as well as improving your sleep quality, exercise, and also just kind of making sure that you're managing your stress a lot better. So these are very common things that would help all of us, right? Exercise, managing your stress, therapy, all these things. But just to keep in mind that these symptoms are something that people do experience. It's not just you're depressed or you're burnt out or something, it is a hormonal change that's happening in the body that affects other areas, right? Like your mood and your sleep and all those things. So it's all connected. I like to say that to my clients all the time, is like your mind and your body are fully connected. So whatever we're feeling in our body, it's going to affect our mental health and vice versa. So very important to keep in mind. If you do need professional help, there are ways to help with some of this and tailor some of those symptoms.
Yeah. I know I've worked with people who are, in the age range where you might start experiencing perimenopause symptoms. And I think increasing awareness about perimenopause is so important because otherwise you might feel like you're losing your mind, or that, you might just chalk it up to stress. And the problem with that is that then you miss getting treatment that could help you relieve some of your symptoms. So like Gabby said, always going to see a professional and making sure you're working with somebody who is actually hearing you and listening to you, and that you don't feel dismissed by.
Yeah. And then just doing your own research on it too. I think just I think that's the biggest help for most people, is just knowing that there's something and they're not just like, something's wrong with me, I'm losing my mind, I'm forgetting everything. I think just knowing that, hey, there may be something else going on can kind of help ease some of that stress that you're holding on.
Yeah, there's a cause. It's not just because I'm not managing my day-to-day effectively enough or whatever. There's some usually it's not just because you're not managing your day-to-day effective enough. There's almost always some other contributing factor. So
yeah, your hormones definitely have such a big factor in how you feel.
They do.
Yeah.
Yep. They sure do.
So so just wanted to share that information with you guys. Is there any questions that you got that you wanted to bring? I'm speaking low, there's no mic here.
We're whispering. Hot mic. No, I could keep talking about the therapy, social media thing, because I think it's so interesting. But I know we also wanted to give Bruno space to share.
Yeah, Bruno, do you want to share anything while we're here?
Oh, sure.
You want to grab the mic?
I'll roll myself.
Yeah. Here you go. Here, do you want my mic?
Anybody's mic.
Here. Oh.
Gotcha. Another one as well.
You got it.
Fantastic. Two mics. That's how we are here. What's going on, everybody? My name is Bruno. I'm Mason Throne Photography. I'm usually the one helping Gabby here with a lot of her content and to kind of piggyback of what they both were talking about when it comes to social media. I think in this day and age, social media has become almost like our the new resume, right? Especially if you run a business or if you're a content creator, whatever the case may be. A lot of people are finding a lot of resources through social media. So if you're, just like with Gabby when we first started, we're kind of like trying to figure out what's our identity when it comes to social media, who is our audience. You really want to flesh that out, right? Because if you're kind of get to a point where you're kind of like all over the place, just posting anything and everything, you're not going to get a lot of traction. You might get some views, and that's fantastic. But what you want to start really building is almost like a fan base, people who constantly are looking forward to your content. Um, and I know with Gabby, that's the one of the number one conversations we wanted to identify, right? Because Gabby there's so much to her. She's a mother of three. She's a business owner. She's a therapist herself. And there's so many avenues you can obviously go with that. But the one thing you always want to focus your content towards an individual that you feel like would benefit the most from your resource, from your knowledge, your experience, or for the entertainment, right? Because we're all watching. There's so much content out there that's just being poured in, especially in these algorithms that we have. Um, but it's also important that to know that hey, there's always going to be one, two, three, four, five people who are always going to be watching your content. Could be friends, could be family, could it be anybody in the sort, right?
Haters.
It could be your haters. But always keep those people in mind and consecrate your contacts because I think the one defeating aspect of it, a lot of people, kind of get into is when they post one video and that one video only gets like two, three views. Sometimes we get like into this defeat mindset, like, oh, this is not going to work. It's not true at all. You got to keep planting that seed,
Yeah.
and it will grow. I think, Gabby, what we started with like 10 views the first video, and
Yeah.
now she's doing thousands of views for her videos.
Yeah.
It's in that consistency. It's constantly sending that message, constantly putting in the work, putting that content out, and you'll grow from there. I think, what was it? You made one post and you already got like 10 leads.
Yeah,
10
yeah,
something
yeah,
leads.
yeah, exactly. From one of the therapists that we posted, yeah.
Yeah, just posting saying, "Hey, we have a
Yeah.
new therapist in our practice." She was able to lead to 10 new clients. So that can happen for anybody. It happened for me with photography and videography. People just need to know that you're out there.
Yeah.
And social media does an incredible job of that. But yeah, that's my two takes.
Awesome. Thank you, Bruno.
Thank you.
Do you have?
Okay. So do you have any like thoughts about anything that you like want to add or what are
No, I think that's pretty much it. With the social media stuff, just being consistent, setting aside the time, getting feedback from other people in your field, outside of your field. I like what Bruno said about finding who you're trying to target, who are the videos for. Marketing is obviously really important.
and if you're like a creative person, I'm more of like kind of a trying to think of a nice way to describe, like a little more right-brained. It's right-brained because I'm left-handed and your left hand is connected to the right side. I'm a more like right-brain type B type of person. So just have fun. Like really just have fun. Like I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't fun. Again, like I know I said that before, but I think it's like a really cool space where there's like a lot of potential to like meet people, to get exposed to new things too, like and find just other people whose messages resonates with your own as well, and like you can collaborate. Like I love collaborating with Gabby on these, and yeah, keep it fun, explore. Like you don't have to do what's been done before. There's always new opportunities to be creative and figure out your own way as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm really thankful for your time today, and thank you so much for joining our live today. Thank you, Bruno. We'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.